Welcome to the final episode of Fixing Shiny Pokémon. This time, I'm again covering two generations in one video, being the most recent two, Gen 8 and 9, Pokemon Sword and Shield, Legends Arceus, and Scarlet and Violet. If you haven't seen the other videos, that's fine. Obviously, just what I'm doing here is I'm taking Pokemon that I think have bad shinies and I'm trying to fix them in Photoshop. So to get right into it, because I believe I have like over 60 Pokemon to cover here, we're going to start with some regional forms from Gen 8. Galarian Weezing, I tried to give it a color scheme that matches its fairy type better because, honestly, I'm really confused as to even why it has a fairy type. It doesn't look like it, its colors don't look like it, its design doesn't. So, adding some pink and white to it, I felt like that matched it a little better, and it's a pretty cool color scheme as well. Hisuian Typhlosion, I did something similar, trying to make it a color scheme that sort of fits a type, so I gave it a very ghostly, pale color scheme. White Striped Basculin, for its shiny, I just made it pretty much pure white to really exemplify the fact that it is the white Basculin. Galarian Darmanitan, I took some inspiration from some real-life monkeys and apes, making its fur black and its skin kind of orangutan-like, which is also kind of like regular Darmanitan. Rillaboom, like many other grass types in this series, I gave it just a sort of autumn color scheme, making its leaves orange. Cinderace, like many other fire types in this series, I gave it a bluish color scheme, sort of making it look more icy or watery. Voltund, I also made it blue. If there's any colors I associate with lightning, it's obviously yellow, but aside from that, I feel like blue fits pretty well, so that's what I was thinking here, and it looks pretty cool. Colossal, it was hard for me to change the actual color of the rocks for some reason in Photoshop, so I just stuck to changing like the aura or the light colors, which kind of worked, and this is kind of like how it's regular shiny, the rocks turn blue, but here instead it's just the embers turning blue, which I honestly like more. Toxtricity, I just gave it a pretty unique color scheme coming up with this. This kind of also leans into like its punk rock aesthetic a bit. Centiskorch, I gave it a black and red color scheme. I feel like this makes it look a lot more aggressive and cool. Sirfetch'd, I don't really know what I was doing here, but I came up with this. So, yeah, I mean, its regular shiny's bad, so this is probably better. Mr. Rhyme, I made it pinkish to sort of make a callback to regular Mr. Mime. Frostmoth, I also just made it pinkish. I could have done something better, but I was having a hard time coloring this in Photoshop again for some reason, so oh well. For some reason, a lot of these Pokemon from like Gen 8 and stuff, the image quality was so bad that the color fill was just not working, so sorry about that, but that's Photoshop's fault. Or Google, I don't even know. Anyway, Indeedee, for both of its gender variants, I made a unique shiny, turning them white, but then keeping the sort of like gender color for the accents. So the male one gets blue accents, and then the female one gets pink accents. Morpeko, I kept its white middle, but then I made its two halves yellow and blue, which again are colors that I think are pretty closely associated with electricity, and also a color scheme I'm just a big fan of. Copperajah, I gave it a sort of rusty color scheme, and that's of course what its color scheme already is, but this is sort of like more orangey rust instead of greenish, like tarnished copper. Duraludon, I have two variants. The first one is golden, which is something I've done a lot in this series, making metal Pokemon or metallic Pokemon look gold. And then the other one is red, which I honestly think looks better, kind of. It's just that I wanted to have a golden one as well. Then I did Zacian, not because its shiny sucks. I honestly kind of like it. I always do the legendaries. The box art legendaries in this series, so I just had to do one. Zacian, I made it black and gold, because again, it's a steel type, so why not make it golden? And honestly, this looks pretty cool. Maybe even better than the regular one. Urshifu, I made a unique shiny for each form, leading into like the color that they kind of have already as accents. The rapid style becomes fully blue, and the single strike becomes fully red. Then I also made a secondary version for this, the single strike one, which is just sort of more red, if that makes sense. Anyway, then Zarude, I leaned into its grass type a little bit more and made it fully shades of green, which I honestly think looks pretty cool. Regieleki, I shifted its hue a little bit and then made its eyes black, and now it kind of looks like a watermelon. Regidrago, I took inspiration from Charizard's color scheme, which is clearly what the little dragon mouth is based on, so now it looks a lot more like Charizard. And pretty cool too. Glastrier, I just made the ice pink, because why not? Calyrex, I inverted its fur from white to black, and then I just also changed some of its other colors to warmer. Enamorus, I just shifted the whole hue at once until I got something that I thought looked kind of cool, and I came up with this. Skeledirge, I just made it green to sort of look like a real crocodile a little bit more. Quackleval, again, I just shifted the whole color palette at once, but I thought this looked pretty cool with the yellow feathers. Pawmot, for some reason I wanted to make its fur gray, so I did that, and then from there I just shifted all of its other colored parts to something, and I found that blue looked the best for this particular design, so I came up with this. Tandemaus, I did another like blue for male, pink for female thing, and I made the one fully blue and the one fully pink. Arbalava, this is sort of an autumn color scheme, making it reddish, but also I just kind of shifted the whole hue at once until I got something that looked cool. Squawkabilly, this would be something where the shiny would be unique to each color variant. So essentially, if it's like the green plumage one, like I did here for an example, all of its feathers become a different shade of green. And then that would be like if it's the red one, then these dark green parts would be dark red, and so on. Ceruledge and Armarouge, I just sort of shifted their color palettes, not entirely, but either way this still looks pretty cool and definitely better than their terrible regular shinies. Kilowattrel, I made it red because I thought that looked cool, and it honestly does. It also kind of resembles a real-life frigate bird, which has a big red puffy chin thing. Grafii, I just shifted its colors a little bit. Bramblegast, I tried to make it look even more ghostly, making it like decaying and bone-colored kind of. Scoville, I made its other head sort of resemble, I think like a habanero pepper, or just a yellow pepper of some kind. Then I made its body a lot warmer. Tinkaton, instead of changing the hammer color, I actually changed its body color, and I made it to match the color of the hammer, or at least kind of, and I honestly kind of like this. Bombardier, I just made its feathers black, so now it's kind of like a black swan or something. Glimora, I just made it reddish, so now it's kind of like a fiery gradient, which looks pretty cool. Flamigo, I made it pure white, because if I'm not mistaken, baby flamingos are white, so it's kind of a reference to that. Annihilape, I made it pure black, which makes it look very spooky, since it is a ghost type. Screamtail, I have two variants. The one is blue, to reference from the first video where I made Jigglypuff blue, and the other one's red, because I honestly kind of like this better anyway. Iron Treads, I just shifted its light color to blue, because for the shiny future Pokemon, they don't change the light colors, which I feel like that would look a lot cooler. Instead, they just make them like fully silver for the metal parts. Some of them it looks cool, but for something like Iron Treads, which is already silver, it looks terrible, so I just shifted the light, and blue looks really cool. Iron Jugulus, I did something different. I shifted the light, but I also tried to make it look like regular shiny Hydreigon, being green and purple. Iron Moth, again, I just shifted the light color, so now it's like teal, which looks pretty cool and futuristic. Baxcalibur, I took inspiration from Godzilla, which it's already based on, but this just leans even more into that. Goldango, many people have done this, but it's the most obvious thing to do. I made it silver instead of gold. Ting-Lu, I wanted to make the little vessel on its head look golden, but then the rest of its body kind of like stone instead of like clay, so I came up with this. Miraidon, because its shiny's kind of bad, but Coridon's is great. I just shifted the hue a little bit until I got something that looked cool, which was this. Then we've got Poltergeist, which I just made the liquid part purple to sort of reference Sinistea, which it is the convergent of. For the Loyal 3, I made all of their like fur/feathers white, but then the rest of their bodies the colors of their accents that they normally have, so Okidogi becomes white and green, including the chain, Monkey becomes white and blue, and then Pheasantipity becomes white and red. Ogerpon, I just made its sort of body neutral colors, because obviously the other parts of it can't change color because they're the parts that already change color when it switches masks. Iron Boulder, again I just shifted the light color to teal, which I think looks pretty futuristic and cool. Then Terrapagos, I made 3 different variants, one to sort of look like a real turtle being green and brown, and then 2 more that are sort of the opposites of each other, a white one and a black one. And then lastly, I did Pecharunt, which I give a very ghostly color palette since it is part ghost type. And with that, we've gotten through the whole Pokédex. Obviously not every single Pokemon, but all of the Pokemon that I thought could use better shinies. So from here, I'll be moving on to a new series next week, but we'll get to that later. For now, if you like this, consider liking, commenting, and subscribing, and thanks for watching.